Obioma and his merman guard Nana swam from their underwater kingdom straight to the human world. As soon as they reached the village riverbank, their shimmering tails transformed into legs. Now they must finalize their plan on land. The stars were in place. The signs had begun. But the wind carried a strange silence. The village noticed when two strangers arrived at sunset. They walked quietly, carrying small bags, dressed like ordinary travelers, but something about them felt wrong. Their eyes were too sharp, too alert, as if they were studying everything and everyone. They settled in the abandoned hut near the riverbank. The hut nobody used. The hut people whispered about at night. Inside, the air was cold. Obioma stood in the center of the room, his tall frame tense with irritation. His handsome human disguise couldn't hide the sharpness in his jaw or the unnatural glimmer in his eyes. Water still dripped from his braids, though no one had seen him near the river. Behind him stood Nana. Broad-shouldered. Dark-skinned. Expressionless. He carried himself like a soldier carved out of stone, no pity, no warmth, no loyalty except to Obioma. He wasn't here to question. He was here to obey. They had come for one person. Adana. The girl who once laughed at every suitor. The girl who boasted that only a prince was worthy of her beauty. The girl who now carried a secret she didn't understand, a child tied to a prophecy older than the village itself. Obioma's voice broke the silence. He spoke softly, but the cold in his tone could freeze a river. 3 moon circles, he said, pacing the hut. And she will give birth. Nana didn't blink. Didn't shift. Didn't feel. Obioma continued, his eyes narrowing with hunger. The moment the child arrives, we take it. The mother is nothing. She has served her purpose. Nana nodded once, a stiff, obedient motion. He had no opinion. No fear. No sorrow. To him, Adana was simply a target. A vessel. And nothing more. He stepped to the window and watched the villagers outside, pounding yam, laughing, fetching water, completely unaware that 2 beings from the deep had entered their world. She will not escape, Nana said quietly, his voice empty. We will watch her day and night. Obioma's lips curved into a slow, dangerous smile. Good. Outside, the villagers continued their evening routines. Cooking. Talking. Laughing. Unaware that a countdown had begun. Unaware that 2 predators watched from the shadows. Unaware that Adana's fate, and her child, were already marked. And somewhere in the village, Adana had no idea death was moving closer with every heartbeat. That night, the village was swallowed in silence, but Adana's spirit refused to rest. She lay curled on her raffia mat, staring into the darkness, her heart bruised and heavy. The truth still stung like fire. Obioma wasn't human. Obioma lied to her. Obioma used her. Every time she remembered the coldness in his eyes, her chest tightened. How could she have been so blind? Shame burned inside her, but deeper than shame was anger, a deep, painful betrayal that made her stomach twist. She turned on her side, trying to force sleep, but then the air shifted. A sudden coldness swept through the hut, nothing like the night breeze. The oil lamp's flame shot straight up, then bent sharply as though greeting someone unseen. The shadows on the mud walls stretched, thickened, then gathered into a swirling silver mist. Adana froze. She tried to move, but her body felt pinned to the mat. A soft hum filled the room, like distant drums underwater. Then she heard it. A voice. Ancient. Soft. Powerful. Adana, have you learned your lesson? Her eyes widened. The mist parted, revealing 3 glowing figures, women dressed in white wrappers, their skin shimmering like moonlight on river water. Beads, feathers, and cowries adorned their bodies. Her ancestors. At the front stood her grandmother, Ogin, a woman of sharp eyes and unshakable strength. Adana's lips trembled. Grandmother? Her grandmother's voice filled the hut. Child of our blood, you walked without listening. You gave your heart to a stranger, one who is not of this world. Adana swallowed hard. I didn't know. I didn't know he wasn't human. The grandmother stepped closer, her light warming the room. But your spirit knew. We whispered to you. We sent signs. Yet you ignored them, thinking your heart was wiser. Adana blinked back tears. I have learned. I will never make that mistake again. The ancestors exchanged a knowing glance. Then her grandmother said, another danger approaches, far greater than heartbreak. And it is tied to the life you now carry. Adana's heart dropped. Her hand moved unconsciously to her belly. Danger? What danger? Her grandmother did not soften. Those who tricked you do not want you. They want the child. Adana's breath caught in her throat. The child, why? But the ancestors did not answer. Some truths were too heavy to reveal at once. Instead, her grandmother's voice lowered. A sign will come to you tomorrow. When you see it, do not hesitate. Do not question. Do not linger. The mist began to fade. Your survival depends on how quickly you obey. The coldness lifted. The figures dissolved. The oil lamp flickered back to normal. Adana jolted upright on the mat, her heart racing, sweat dampening her face. She grabbed her chest, gasping. There was no confusion. No doubt. No concern for Obioma anymore. Only one truth remained sharp as a blade in her mind. She and her unborn child were in danger. And tomorrow, she would have to act. It came quietly. Unexpected. Like a whisper on the wind. As Adana rinsed her face at the clay basin, the cheerful morning breeze suddenly stopped. Everything stilled. No birds. No laughter. No movement. Then, a single crimson feather fell from the sky. Soft. Silent. Impossible. It landed right beside her bare foot. Adana gasped. Not just any feather. A red egret feather, a sacred omen in her lineage, used only in ancestral warnings. Her heart slammed against her ribs. This was the sign. Her grandmother's voice rang in her head. When you see it, do not hesitate. Adana entered the hut quietly, one hand on her belly, the other gripping the red feather tightly. Her voice shook even before she spoke. Mama. Papa, something else happened. Neka stiffened. Okoro straightened slowly, dread already creeping into his chest. What is it again, Adana? Neka whispered, afraid of the answer. Adana sat beside them, her eyes glassy with fear. My ancestors came to me in a dream last night. The hut went silent. Even the morning birds outside seemed to hush.
Mother?
Adana continued, her voice cracking under the weight of the memory. They told me that I must leave this village. That danger is coming. That the ones from the river, they don't want me. They want the child. Neka gasped and pressed a hand to her chest. Okoro swallowed hard, trying to keep himself steady. Why the child? What do they want with an unborn baby? Okoro asked, his voice forced but calm. Adana shook her head, tears finally spilling. They didn't tell me. They only said, when I see the sign, I must run. She lifted the red feather with trembling fingers. And this morning, I found this in front of the hut. The sign. Neka covered her mouth, eyes widening with fear and certainty. Ojin, your grandmother, she was a woman who never spoke without purpose. Adana nodded quickly, desperation spilling from her voice. Mama. Papa. I have to go. Today. Now. Before they come for me. Okoro's jaw clenched. He rose slowly from the stool. His voice was low, steady, weighed down by pain. Adana, if your ancestors warn you, you must listen. Neka walked to her daughter, cupping her cheeks gently. Her voice cracked. Child, even if our hearts break, even if this house feels empty without you, we will rather lose you to distance than to death. Adana sobbed, clinging to her mother's wrapper. I didn't think all this would happen. I just wanted love. I just wanted someone who saw me differently. Neka hugged her tightly, whispering into her hair. You were blinded by sweet words. Now you see the truth. The important thing is, you and that baby must live. Okoro packed some food quietly, the way a father prepares his heart for the hardest goodbye. He placed the bundle in Adana's hands. Take this path behind the farm. It leads far from the river. Walk until your legs cannot feel themselves. Do not stop. Do not look back. Adana nodded, wiping her tears, her breathing uneven. She hugged them both tightly, a long, trembling embrace full of fear, regret, and love. Then, with tears streaking her face, she stepped out of the hut. At the village edge, the wind blew strong against her wrapper. She placed a protective hand over her belly and whispered, I will protect you. Even if the world wants you. I will not let them take you. And with one final look at her parents, she disappeared into the bush path. Unaware that she would never see the village again. Unaware that Obioma was already coming. Unaware that destiny had only just begun.